Welcome to the Boom Trust podcast, where we explore important topics on neurodevelopmental disorders, which include but are not limited to Autism Spectrum Disorder, cerebral palsy, dyslexia, ADD, ADHD, among others. Beauty out of Mire. Our aim is to enable individuals with neurodevelopmental disorders to live to their maximum potential and live fulfilling lives like every other person. I am your host, Dr. Fidel Baraza. Welcome back to the podcast, and today we are featuring Alice Mundia, who is the chairperson of Differently Talented Societies of Kenya and also an advocate of disability here in Kenya. And so I'll give it to Alice to be able to introduce to us who she is as a person.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fidel. My name is Alice Mundia, the chairperson of Differently Talented Society of Kenya. I am also a mother to a young man who's 20 years now and is on the autism spectrum. And I would say that it has been a journey, and I am glad to be here. Thank you, Fidel, for inviting me. Thank you.
Wow, awesome. I know being a mother of a young person with autism spectrum disorder here in Kenya and in Africa in itself is a journey. And let me begin by saluting you and just saying hats off for you for having raised up this young man courageously and to the level where he is. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today, and we'd love to hear much more about you and raising up your son. How has the journey been for you in raising up your son with autism here in Kenya?
So thank you very much, Fidel. I would say that it's been quite a journey with a lot of milestones, with a lot of achievements, of course with a lot of difficulties along the journey. But then I would say that today, when my son is now at 20, I celebrate many things that have happened in the last 20 years, and more so after the diagnosis, because my son was diagnosed somewhere around 2008 when he was just around 3.5 years. And I would say the difficulties that parents experience in this journey start at that level, from access to therapy. Remember that children with autism and other related neurodevelopmental disabilities will require therapy. They will require occupational therapy, they will require speech therapy, they will require physiotherapy, where it's important that they require physiotherapy on the recommendation of the doctor. They will also require dietary interventions. They will require behavior interventions, both at home and within the classroom setting. And access to therapy is one of the most expensive things in this country. It's quite expensive. I would say that for me, I chose to have therapy at Kenyatta. And at that point in time, I remember there was no speech therapy in Kenyatta. And I, of course, had to access speech therapy services outside the Kenyatta National Hospital, which was reasonably priced. But then remember also there's the cost you incur also from home to the hospital settings. Then getting into the education system, access to quality, inclusive education is also a challenge. And I would say now my son did start in the nearest kindergarten close to us, in the nearest school. But then as years went by, it was very clear that it was not easy to have him accommodated in that setting. And there was also the difficulties that we would experience within the classroom setting to be able to learn alongside his peers. And what I find in the classroom setting, there's very little accommodations and support of children with disabilities. And finally, he ended up also going to a special needs a school. And it's been quite a journey, of course, transitioning from the early age to him getting to young adulthood. And I would say that this quite a lot, issues around psychosocial support. Because remember that especially for me, my children were siblings. So they were not just siblings, but they were twins. So remember, one is moving on a different pathway from the other. And definitely you wanting to achieve milestones. And as a parent, you may end up starting to compare your children and seeing like, this one has not achieved this milestone, and you're working so hard to have him achieve certain milestones, but of course he's still experiencing the difficulties that come with the diagnosis. But what I would want to tell people is, of course, there's also the component of we need to rise above the diagnosis of our own children, to not just look at the difficulties that they experience, whether it's difficulties, especially children with autism, with social interaction, the ability to interact well with others, difficulties in communication that my son experienced, difficulties in behavior, in that repetitive and routine-based behavior, and especially interest in certain things that you probably would find him playing with the toy in a unique way from the way his peers would play, and many of the times he would want to play alone. But we also need to rise above the difficulties that our children experience to provide support for them, because as a caregiver, then you sit in a position of providing support, providing both care and support, and also ensuring that the child has the requisite materials and of course the requisite resources that they will need to be able to grow and transition. Yes. You provide that therapy, whether it's expensive or not, so it means that you have to go all the way to ensure that you set aside resources even within the family unit, that you deny the family certain resources from one side, to ensure that this child is supported within the family unit as equally with others as possible, you know, and of course recognizing the support needs within the family unit. So I would say, yes, it's a unique journey, difficulties, yes, but then accomplishments.
Yes, quite fulfilling at the end of the day as a parent, as a mother. And then it says that if you are a parent of a child with a disability, you are you juggle everything of all trades. You are the financier, you are the therapist, you are the medic, you are the provider and everything. And the impact of the family is quite huge. But I'm also very keen to get to hear about this. You are the chairperson of the differently talented societies of Kenya. And you come in between as middle person between the caregivers and the children or persons with disabilities and autism in particular. How has been your journey and your experience with that? And are there any challenges you have faced even with that space, within that space?
Thank you for that question, Dr. Fidel, because Differently Talented Society of Kenya is an organization or a group that brings together autistic persons and their caregivers. And in Differently Talented Society of Kenya, we came together as caregivers from around 2015, starting WhatsApp with WhatsApp sharing platforms, and with the main goal of psychosocial support, and of course ensuring that we link up with the available service providers and the duty bearer, which is government, to be able to see where are the services, where are the schools, where are the hospitals, where is therapy being provided, where is rehabilitative care happening, where are all these resources that our children require, so that we can be able to link up and tell ourselves that if you need a school, this is the referral pathway. If you need a hospital to access therapy, this is the referral pathway. If you need registration for your child, National Council for Persons with Disabilities. So kind of like when we came together, we began like we were just providing psychosocial support to each other, but at the same time, we have found over time as an organization and as a membership group that we had to transition beyond just thinking about ourselves as caregivers and the pity woye, component of us, because we are of course coming from the background of facing a lot of stigma within the society where we are coming from, the cultural and attitudinal barriers that exist within our societies. So when you come in, you are at your weakest point. So we thought psychosocial support was one of the key areas that we could really concentrate on. But then we realized that even as an organization, we could not exist if we were not registered. So we got registered in 2016 as a membership group with the society, under the Societies Act, And then we found that we needed also to register ourselves with National Council for Persons with Disabilities and become part of the membership stakeholders. We then found that we needed also to link up with the main movement of persons with disabilities by becoming members of United Disabled Persons of Kenya, which is the umbrella body of persons with disabilities. So as a management committee, of course, we all have our different areas and our different fields, but then we come together and link up and come up with activities and programs that are going to be beneficial to both autistic persons, persons with other developmental disabilities also, and the caregiver. So it's been quite a journey, and I would say that, of course, we have learned a lot within the space, and we have participated also in a lot of initiatives that are for the benefit of persons with neurodevelopmental disabilities and their caregivers. We have organized quite a lot of activities. Of course, we have had a transition program for young adults in NITA through recognition of prior learning. We have had training of caregivers on entrepreneurship skills and even transitioning, for allowing them, of course, to get even into work, because many caregivers have children with high support needs who require support. We found ourselves also organizing even the Tujiachilia psychosocial activities and bringing up our caregivers together and young adults together in a platform where we do activities and then they can be able to access psychosocial support.
Oh, maybe it's good for me to just interrupt there, because I'm a mother, as you know, of a child with neurodevelopmental disorders, and my daughter is 14 years old. She has both cerebral palsy and Autism Spectrum Disorder, and I'm a registered member of the Differently Talented Societies of Kenya. The only thing is that I've missed out a lot, and in fact, I'm sitting here and I'm asking myself, what are the benefits? Because since I registered, I've never, tapped into all that you have, and I'm asking myself, where do I need to tap? Where am I being left out? Where is my daughter being left out? Where can she come in?
Your daughter now is getting into the space that she's just turned 14.
Yes.
And one of the key programs that we've had is the program for young adults with autism and related developmental disabilities. But that has been the component of young adults above the age of 18. We got into the National Industrial Training Authority and trained within the areas of interest in various trades. And some of them we got into Talanta Institute. We've had even an activity that we did in the Kenya Institute of Special Education in the month of April, very, very recent, the Tujiachilia activity that brought it together counselors, counseling psychologists, both from the Huduma centers of government. You know, Huduma centers provide free counseling services. So we tapped into the free counseling services that are provided by government and brought in the counseling psychologists on board, and counseling psychologists from Stand Up for Mental Health. We had quite a lot of other organizations providing counseling psychologists. We had occupational therapists, and we did a big event at Kise during the month of April. I think it was on 20th of April. And then the subsequent week did another activity in Mire that also brought in Equity Afia, the county government of Mire, counseling psychologists from around that space, Metropolitan Sanctuary, and we pulled a very good activity in Mire town. And as a member of DTSK now, you get to
participate and benefit from all these things.
Benefit from all the activities that are happening within DTSK, because we trained over 250 caregivers on entrepreneurship skills from both Nairobi, Nakuru, and Nyeri. Yes. For them.
So there's a lot more we can tap.
There's a lot more you can tap from DTSK.
Yes.
There's a lot more you can tap also in terms of the linkages that we have, even linkages to United Disabled Persons of Kenya, UDPK.
Awesome.
We also participated as an organization in the lobbying for the Autism and Related Developmental Disabilities budget that is now anchored in National Council. Participated in the drafting of that petition you know.
Awesome.
And of course, it's
So
really
from
about,
here, I tend to think this is God sent, and from this place, when you go, wherever you go,
Yes.
remember there is a child called Raziela Miracle,
Wow.
living with cerebral palsy and autism spectrum disorder. Hold her hand, walk with her, and remember the beauty out of Mire. Trust and walk with us. It
It's
has
been some time since we
some years since we met.
Yes.
Yes,
But definitely the membership can tell you that there's been quite
a lot. Yes.
that is happening.
Oh,
I think
sir.
what happens within the membership also is parents kind of like some of them, like now we have over 1,600 members within DTSK, cut across the counties. Across, of course, people coming from across various counties in this country. So definitely, I know new parents are coming in all the time, and they are eager to learn, and to gain a lot of information. But sometimes some of our old members just slow down a bit. I feel like they feel a bit sorted, just a bit sorted, until the child gets into teenage.
And then yes, we are there.
The child
But
gets into teenage.
just to move on a little bit from that,
Yes.
I'm still going back to your son.
Yes.
And of course, as we talk about children and moving on from childhood to teenagehood and youth, adolescence, and adulthood eventually, I'm very keen to know about your son and how he was able to defy all the odds that come and are associated with autism spectrum disorder, and be able to acquire technical skills that allow him to be able to transition to meaningful lifestyle as an individual. And I'm so sure as you speak about your son, you're able to encourage any other parent out there. We are speaking about our stories to encourage every other parent in Africa that autism or neurodevelopmental disorders is not the end of the road. There is much more, and you can be able to defy every odd, and you can be able to live a meaningful life. Our children are here, and we are here to walk the journey with you. Will you speak to any other parent out there?
Thank you very much, Fidel, for that question. Of course, my son, just like all the other young adults, many young adults with autism and related developmental disabilities, struggled through the school system, having difficulties in reading and writing, having difficulties, especially in the accommodations that were there in the classroom setting. So you find that he exited without having gotten the requisite certifications as his peers when he got to his 18th birthday. And he left school when he was in year 8. But despite being in year 8, still, of course, in terms of the work, the education curriculum, whatever it is that he was learning may not necessarily have been the curriculum for year 8. So I would say that just like all the other teenagers, he found it very hard getting into gainful employment, or getting even into a program that was going to be accommodative and that was going to take him in at that juncture. And I talked earlier about our program in NITA, and this was based on the government recognition of prior learning. And we identified NITA because the National Industrial Training Authority trains for the labor market. And it also trains even the informal sector. So we thought it would be a good place for us to visit and go, and even taking our students into the National Industrial Training Authority. So he was enrolled for the food and beverage program, and he learned alongside it. I would say the program was a paired approach, where you can find even caregivers, like you find a son and the mother coming in and training in food and beverage, so that probably at a future date they can be able to set up a restaurant together. So my son did food and beverage, and we identified somebody who would provide support for him during his tenure at NITA. And he was able to sit even for this national certification exam that was practical based through recognition of prior learning, and he graduated from NITA and even did his industrial attachment in the NITA kitchen. Currently, my son is in a program, we call it the Weekend Work Program, where they have started off with core skills of core life skills, and hopefully he's also going to transition within that existing program. But he graduated from NITA. He did very well, so meaning that right now he's able to do a lot of initiatives within the home.
Yes.
Definitely, it has not yet earned him in terms of money. I was looking for a space where probably he would be able to get into an institution where he can work, even if it's on a part-time basis, like a school, and work within the school kitchen, in a place where he would be understood, where he would be supported, because he's very good at food preparation. He's very good in participating in preparation of meals. Definitely, he has cooked in NITA. He has prepared food for the students, and he's good at it. He loves it.
Awesome. Probably this is where we need to take a pause and tell any would-be employers out there that we have a young person here who is talented and who is able to be a value add to your space, a person with disability. And so if you are that organization that is looking out to be inclusive in your employment space, here is a young person trained, and he's a trained chef, right?
Yes, he is. He's a trained chef, and he is trained alongside others. Definitely, because he trained. Remember that we had 30 students in NITA, and we had 3 students in Talanta. What we found out is NITA was offering the technical courses, but then Talanta Institute was offering the music and DJing oriented courses. So we also had young adults who chose to do music and DJing. So we had three of them also going to Talanta Institute. So we had quite a number of students within the class who did food and beverage, who are good at it, but of course will require definitely they will require a lot of support within the establishment and a bit of accommodations, for them within the kitchen space for them to get into work. But that does not necessarily mean that they cannot work.
They can work
with support.
Yes,
they can work and get into.
And so we just need to know those employers that actually have a keen on inclusivity, and let them create that space and let them be able to embrace persons like your sons. And there are many more other young people who are trained. This is the second person with autism spectrum disorder that is a trained chef that I'm coming across. There's another young person who is 24 years old, a trained chef that I know, has autism spectrum disorder. And so employers, this is your space. Tap into this talent and let us be an inclusive society and community.
They need to open a lot of space to accommodate the young adults, to get into gainful employment.
Yes.
Because remember, what is happening within the young adult space is that if we keep them at home for too long, then it means that they would then develop secondary psychosocial disabilities. Well, they are talented and gifted. Autistic persons have, as long as something is within their area of interest, they get better and better by the day.
Yes, very true.
And in most cases, would even surpass the average person in terms of their skill. But then, of course, they will require those accommodations, the reasonable accommodations within the space, because if they have difficulties in communication, then they need to be accommodated well within the space, They need also, of course, even the atmosphere, the way the spaces, they need quiet spaces. They need to be allowed to work. They need to be supported and instructions given. They operate very well on a structure, when it's explained to them how things are going to be done and they're supported to do it, then it means they will do very well.
Very well. And my slogan is always that societies flourish when every member of the society is accommodated and supported to be able to be a person that also contributes to the society positively. And this is the place where all of us, we come together as a community, as families, as individuals, as the society, as organizations, to make it possible for persons with neurodevelopmental disorders to feel accepted, accommodated, supported, to be able to also contribute positively to the flourishing of the society and the community. And just as we wrap up this conversation, and we'll be back again with you on another podcast, but as we wrap up this one, What do you want to tell our audience, and how can they be able to reach you for any further engagements? And what else do you have for the society on this conversation? What would you want to tell a mother or a father, a parent, a caregiver, or just an organization, somebody out there who is keen to get to know much more about the conversation on neurodevelopmental disorders?
I want to tell the general public that persons with neurodevelopmental disabilities and persons with disabilities in general, just like everyone else, are equal members of the society. They need to be accommodated. They need to be respected. Respect for the dignity of the person and the autonomy of the person. They need to be given opportunities to make choices on the courses that they will take. Because even when they're training in technical skills, they need to be their areas of interest need to be respected. Because what is happening currently is, like, many of the young adults are being pushed into bidding. They may not necessarily have an interest in bidding. So we need to accommodate them and respect them as individuals and equal members of society, just like their peers. Give them the opportunities to be able to transition, provide them, of course, and this is not just the society also, but even within the families. We know stigma begins within the family unit. How is this person with neurodevelopmental disabilities being treated within his own family? Because once the family is able to nurture the culture of love, to nurture the culture of accommodating one of their own, it means that even as they transition within society, other members of society will respect them and treat them with dignity. So this begins in the family unit. The support needs to be provided within the family unit. And when it comes to government, access to services, access to therapy. How can we ensure that therapy is reasonably priced and is accessible even at the lowest level when it comes to the lowest health centers within the space? We know there's a growing number. Statistics are telling us that there's a growing number of persons with developmental disabilities. And currently, even the Center for Disease Control tells us that 1 in every 36 children in the US has autism, and at least 1 in every 100 worldwide. WHO tells us 1 in every 100 children has autism. So we need to ensure that our systems, our access to services takes note of the population of persons with autism and related neurodevelopmental disabilities within our communities. How are we providing assistive devices? Access to anticonvulsive medication, access to diapers, access to the schools, inclusive spaces within the schools. We ask ourselves, are our children playing? Are they participating in sports and sporting activities and leisure, just like everyone else? So there's quite a lot that we need to look at, but the issue is children with disabilities, and especially children with neurodevelopmental disabilities, for this matter, need to be treated with love, with dignity, and supported all through their journey, so that they can be able to transition and live independently in adulthood, all with support of their families. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you. And basically that is just to tell us that, reiterating the same thing she's saying, with love, with support, with determination, understanding, individuals with neurodevelopmental disorders can live to their maximum potential and lead fulfilling lives like every other person. And it's important for societies to be accepting, to be inclusive in nature, and to empower every person. Societies flourish when every member of the society is a contributing member to the flourishing of that society. Thank you for listening in to the Boom Trust podcast, where we handle stories that are quite inspiring, stories of hope, stories of love, stories of resilience. Stay tuned, there's more coming on love, resilience, and acceptance.